The Osmo 360 is DJI's first 360-degree action camera, and I actually had the chance to test it out for the last couple of weeks throughout my travels to show you what this camera is capable of. But before we get started, let me give you guys a little sneak peek. As you could see, we went absolutely full send with this camera, so let me run you through the specs. First of all, let's start with the most exciting part, which is that we finally have a 360 camera with a 1-inch square high dynamic image sensor. This basically eliminates the ineffective areas of a traditional rectangular 1-inch sensor, allowing you to get higher quality footage. Now, the dynamic range of this thing is incredible. This is due to its larger image sensor and larger pixel size, allowing you to shoot in D-Log-M at 10 bits. The Osmo 360 is also the first 360 camera that allows you to shoot in a native 8K. This basically means that the footage is not upscaled and is directly recorded into the camera in 8K. In terms of frame rates, you can push the camera from 4K 100, 6K 60, and all the way up to 8K 50 frames per second, which is pretty exciting. As expected, there are various shooting modes, so you can shoot in 360 panoramic, hyperlapse, time-lapse, and also the single lens mode. The single lens mode is actually pretty interesting because you can use the 360 camera just like a regular action camera, and you can shoot in 5K 60, or if you need extra slow, 4K 120. The footprint of the Osmo 360 is actually really small. In fact, it's the lightest 360 camera currently on the market. It has a super responsive LCD screen, which allows you to reframe your shot with ease, and it's just fun to shoot with. But enough talking specs, I think it's time to let the camera do the talking. Alright, so today is a pretty special day because we're going to take the Osmo 360 up in the sky. And in case you didn't know, I'm actually pretty afraid of heights. Just don't tell anyone, please. So instead of me jumping out of a plane, we got these guys jumping out of the plane. And the goal of this shot is to really push this camera to its limits. So we're going to shoot everything here in 8K 50 frames per second. Now you're probably wondering, how does it perform when you shoot at 8K 50 frames per second, because it's quite high obviously. But funny enough, last night we actually checked how long we can record in this setting, and I think it took around 25 minutes or so until we got an overheating warning. And even then it just shut down the screen and kept going. I think we stopped the recording at 33 minutes. So if you think that's still not enough, I'm gonna send you my address, you show up to my house, and we have a discussion about it. Because I generally believe that there's no real use case where you would ever shoot more than 10 minutes at 8K 50 frames per second. But enough talking, it's time to give this bad boy to our man Alex, who was kind enough today to jump out of this plane. Let's go. As you can see, the footage looks absolutely insane. All shot in 8K, 50 FPS. But there's still so much stuff that we still have to do today, so it's time to head out of here. The things you do sometimes, if you remember in the previous shot where I said I'm afraid of heights.
No, I'm actually pretty afraid of heights.
Next minute I find myself at the edge of a cliff doing my thing with these two base jumpers right now who are going to go absolute full send. Trying to capture this with the 360, shooting 8K 50 frames per second. Man, I don't even know what to say. This is just gonna be wild. Just roll the tape.
Just go with the vibe.
Today we had to change it up a little bit because my cameraman just didn't feel well this morning. So instead of filming this entire activity on this heavy rig like we usually would, we decided to film this entire segment on the Osmo 360. And you're probably wondering, why the hell is the audio so good? And the reason for that is because we have the DJI mic connected to the camera, which is super convenient, and it ensures that you always have 32-bit float at all times. In moments like this is where it really shines to be able to wirelessly connect to the 360 camera and still have super crisp audio, because as you can see, I have once again my hands full because I'm hanging on the side of a cliff. so I don't want to worry about being close to the camera to have high quality audio. I've also been loving how we most of the time have been shooting in auto mode, and it's really doing the job. You know, the dynamic range, the quality, whether you shoot in 8K, 6K or 4K, it just looks great straight out of the camera. Holy shit! Yeah, baby! It's crazy how many different locations you have in Switzerland. 1 minute you're in the mountains, suddenly in the forest, then by the lake. Speaking of lake, why don't we fast forward to the next location? By the way, in case you wonder, the Osmo 360 is waterproof. I think it's up to 10 meters or so. We didn't test it that deep, but we did go into the water and it was totally fine. There is also a waterproof case. However, we didn't have access to that at the time of filming this video. So I think once you have that, it can go obviously even deeper. Luckily, the battery life is actually pretty good on the Osmo 360. It's actually using the Osmo 5 Action batteries, which if you're part of the whole ecosystem and you just prefer to shoot everything on DJI, you'll be pretty stoked about that. At first though, I was quite skeptical because I thought they might be too weak and not strong enough to, you know, last throughout the day. But today, for example, we've been shooting all day at 8K 30, 8K 50 and all sorts of settings. And I think we only went through 3 batteries. And to me, that's a pretty good result. When you get the Action combo, you'll also get one of these sleek battery charging packs which will fit 3 batteries, super easy, has USB-C so you can charge it in the car or even through a power bank, and it's just really convenient when you're on the go. So the Osmo 360 actually has a standard threaded mount which we all love because you can just mount it to pretty much anything, as well the magnetic mount that you know from the Osmo Action 5. So it's pretty seamless if you want to mount it to, you know, metals or you want to screw it on things. You can get pretty creative with it. Wrapped up, the shots are secured and in the bag, and we even threw the pole into the air, which was pretty risky, but you know, that's the beauty of 360. You can get as creative as you want, and despite almost hitting the boat, it was worth it and we got what we needed, so we're now off to the next spot. Okay, so I'm out here with my friend Luis, who I just met via social media, so thanks again for coming through so last minute. And this place is actually pretty epic. As you know, when you're mountain biking, there's often a lot of change of light, isn't it? Like,
true.
You have the shade, you have the lit spaces. So we're really trying to take advantage here of the Osmo 360 with the 1-inch sensor and also the exposure balance setting. What that means basically is you're capable of exposing evenly for the shade and the lit spaces, which is quite nice. So we're really going to put it to the test here. And then we're going to shoot a mix of, you know, 8K 50 frames per second, maybe a bit of 4K 120. I don't really know. I just want to get some really good shots. So it's time to send it, I think.
Let's get crazy, man.
So something that I've been noticing when shooting with the Osmo 360 is that there's nearly no vibration. That's something that's really important, especially when you do action sport, because you don't want the footage to be all shaky and stuff unless it's a designed look that you are after. But in this case, that's not what we're after. We want a really clean, crisp shot, and that's why we mounted it here with a clamp. We're gonna shoot everything here in 8K 50 FPS with a high shutter speed, so that way we have even less vibration, and hopefully we get the shot. The 1-inch sensor makes such a huge difference, particularly with the dynamic range. In the moment where we are going through the forest at high speed, that light flickering that you get through the light pushing through the tree lines really doesn't bother the camera because it has such a good balance between the exposure inside of the forest and what's going on outside. So that's something I've definitely been noticing so far in the shooting. It's definitely something that I'm really appreciating about this camera. So if that's something that you do a lot, if you do a lot of biking, or you find yourself in a position like that is similar to these light conditions, this is definitely the camera for you. Time to switch it up a little bit, because this is a segment that I've been looking forward to the most, because now we are attaching the Osmo 360 to an FPV drone, and not just any. This is the Helium Pro from 2RAW, one of the best drone manufacturers that are currently in the market, in my opinion. My go-to drone also for any sort of long range, especially with a beast like this one. And right now we can get really creative, you know, because you can also obviously reframe everything you want. So I'm really keen what we can capture, because this is going to be absolutely wild. So for the settings, we're going to shoot everything in 8K 50. Throughout the trip, this has definitely been my go-to setting. It just looks the best, and I can also slow it down later in post. And because it's so sunny and the shutter speed has to be so high because there are no ND filters, it doesn't really matter to keep the shutter speed and the FPS in check, because the motion blur is just all over the place anyways. So yeah, we're just going to send like this and hope for the best. Osmo 360 is, as of now, the lightest 360 camera on the market, which for a lot of people matters, including us, because obviously right now we're really pushing it to the limit and attaching it to an FPV drone right in the front. So that's something to note if that's something that you care about. Ideally we get a shot where you can't see the camera at all and where it's attached, and all you can see is the drone diving down an epic mountain, revealing the lake at the end. Oh my god, we are cooking, baby. That was a good dive, huh? I think this is the perfect timing to talk about how robust this camera is, because as you could see, I had a pretty rough crash just then, and the camera was attached like this, and it basically nosedived right into the concrete like that. And as you can see, there's only a bit of a scratch on the lens right now, which I'm pretty surprised, to be honest. Unfortunately, we only have one camera, so we have to see how we go moving forward. You can just see a little bit of a scratch in the footage, but I think if you rearrange it a little bit and reframe it, you should be fine. And even the drone didn't do so bad, because you can see only the top bit really broke here. So shout out to 2RAW for lending me this drone on this shoot. I'll make it up to you, let's put it that way. Today is going to be absolutely insane. I'm here in my hometown Freiburg playing, or rather shooting, with the SC Freiburg, who's been kind enough to have us here inside the stadium. And this is the perfect opportunity to utilize your 360 camera on a pole, on a drone. You can get as creative as you like, because this is really where it shines. We only have around 2 hours to play with the boys, so we really want to be as efficient as we can. So we have everything set up. We're going to utilize the magnetic mount and obviously the standard thread mount, so we can just swap the camera on each device to get the best shots out of this. We're going to start off with Kofi here, who apparently is known as the top freestyler. Apparently,
No.
we shall see. But I want to shoot with the players individually first, because again we want to be as efficient as possible, and we're just going to utilize the pole for this, nice and close, up and down, and see what we can capture. Throughout this project, we actually haven't used a single SD card, because the Osmo 360 has up to 105 gigabytes worth of storage, which is amazing. And I've never actually utilized internal storage on other cameras before, but with this one, I've been using it non-stop. Away from the warmth, back in the cold, we are back in Melbourne right now because we are linking up with two very special people. They are both wing foilers. So we're going to attach two 360 cameras on both of the wing foilers, and hopefully we're going to get some chasing shots, some tricks. Apparently one of them can even jump high up in the air with it too. And because of that, we're trying to shoot everything also in slow-mo. So 8K 50, once again, my go-to settings throughout this project. It's just super crisp, and you can slow it down in post. What else do you want? So let's get everything attached and see how we go. So the way to mount this is actually quite challenging, because we want to make sure that it's obviously not falling off. So that's why we have a 3D printed mount, and we're also securing the camera with a leash just in case it falls off, because unfortunately this won't float by itself. But I think if everything works out the way we're hoping it does, these shots should be pretty sweet. What I'm seeing right now, but the boys just dropped off the camera. I was worried that the camera might break, but instead we literally broke the freaking pole. Look at this clean cut. I'm not too sure what happened there, but I think just the forces just got the best of this pole. So that's something to note. Don't expect that this will last everything, but it's pretty durable, but maybe not as durable as you might want to. But I'm thankful that we got the camera at least, because that would be a nightmare if we would have lost this. By the way, if you are wondering, we are shooting everything in a D-Log-M color profile, and because the camera shoots on 10-bit, the dynamic range is just amazing. So if you are not really someone though who likes to color grade, or doesn't know how, or doesn't have time for it, I have created a customized LUT package specifically designed for the D-Log-M color profile, which is perfect for the Osmo 360. And I'm gonna put a link down below, and if you use the code 360, you can secure yourself 20% off. Let's talk about creative angles, because throughout the video we've been going pretty crazy, and I know we've been mounting the camera most of the time to a pole. In a situation like this where you want to mount it to a vehicle like that, this is where you can really get creative with different angles. We're using a variety of clamps. These are from Small Rig. Highly recommend them. I think they're super cheap and you can get them on Amazon. And we're also taking advantage of the standard threaded mount of the poles that usually come with the camera, I believe, or at least you can just get them from any sort of store, and you can actually mount them or screw them on to these clamps, which is really useful, because then you can extend the pole further away from the vehicle, making it look like an invisible pole, right? The further away you are, the less stitch line you will get. And the fact that the lenses are on the opposite side of each other will really help to remove even more of the stitch line later in post. So you just want to make sure that you tighten everything right, because then you have less vibration, and with the magnetic mount, all you got to do is put it on and you're ready to go. Change the scenery now at nighttime, because I want to try to see actually how the Osmo 360 also performs at low light, and I'm pretty sure you're pretty keen to know that too. So same scenario, we have a motorbike rider, but this time we have a freaking Pikachu doing the riding. Pretty cool if you ask me. So we're going to attach it as we did before on the side of the bike to get that really nice angle, and we shoot everything in 8K 30. Keen to see how that performs at nighttime, because we know at daytime everything looks super nice, but at nighttime that's the question. So let's put it to the test. So far, I'm pretty surprised how well it does perform at low light. Right now we're shooting actually at 8K 50, 1/200 shutter, ISO at auto. Now obviously you wouldn't really use an action camera at nighttime as much, but it's still relevant for a lot of people because I know a lot of people who do festival stuff or are just out and about at nighttime and want to capture their stuff. They need good performing low light quality footage. Usually I would never shoot on an action camera anything above 1600 or even up to 1600, but on the Osmo 360 so far, pretty happy. Capabilities even further, because right now we're here in the beach in pretty much complete darkness, but we're adding a bit of spice to it because behind me we have Nick, who's an amazing fire artist, and we're gonna try swing the pole around him.
Oh, that looks so nuts.
Throw it when you're ready. 3, 2, 1. Alright, so it's time to wrap this up because I've shown you pretty much everything that the Osmo 360 is capable of filming, so let me give you my final thoughts. Alright, time to answer the million-dollar question, which is, who is this camera actually for? And the simple answer is that it's for everyone, because I truly believe that there's no single thing that this camera cannot capture, and I think throughout the video that became quite clear. The fact that it does shoot in up to 8K 50 frames per second, which is currently the highest resolution that you can shoot on a 360-degree camera, is incredible. It really allows you to reframe everything in post without losing too much quality of the footage, especially when you crop in. And the fact that you can slow things down is just a mega bonus. Whether you're a travel content creator, an FPV drone pilot, or you're just someone who wants to capture live with this camera, I believe this really allows you to not worry about setting up a shot. And because the stitch line is pretty much non-existent on this camera, it really allows you to film worry-free. Something that's also worth noting is that this is actually the first time for me to continuously shoot on a 360-degree camera, and I gotta say, I loved it. In fact, I loved it that much that I'm pretty confident of implementing this further into my workflow and even maybe be something that I would offer to clients in the future, because man, the freedom that you have in post and just the creativity that sparked within me was amazing. So it's definitely something that I'm excited to film more with in the future. The only thing I wish this camera would have are replaceable lenses, because as you remember, we had a pretty gnarly crash and we did have a scratch on this lens. So it would have been nice to just be able to replace the lens and continue on shooting. However, we did continue on shooting with the same camera, and it wasn't as big of an issue as I thought with the scratch on the lens, because you couldn't really see it, but it would have been definitely a nice feature to add for DJI to do that. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this video and this camera. Was it helpful? Did this give you a bit of a better idea of how to make the most out of this camera? Let me know down below, and if you have any questions, put them down there too, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Let's get it.